The ProPatch really makes studio life with analog gear and setups and configurations so easy and so fast. It's just ridiculous. Like this should have existed 20 years ago. It would have been a godsend for so many of us. Hey everybody, Bob Horn here for the Wolff Audio ProPatch. For many of us, the patch bay is the central hub of our studio where all the gear in the studio comes together so we can connect it in a configuration of our choosing. Some studios will have several patch bays that include the mic lines from the recording space, all the inputs and outputs from the mixing desk, which could be hundreds, all the outboard inputs and outputs, just anything you can think of in the studio on the patch bay. And when you have a large recording session, your patch bay is full of tons of cables and it just gets cumbersome. How many times have you guys grabbed a stack of patch cables and thrown around your neck and then approach the patch bay? Here we go. Okay. So mix bus. I want to go through some outboard gear. So mix out into my SSL compressor. And then I want an EQ. So out of my SSL compressor into my GML EQ. Bam, bam. And then out of the EQ into Pro Tools, because we gotta be able to hear our mix after all that outboard gear. Great, there's our patch, left and right, stereo. So 2 pieces of gear out of Pro Tools into Pro Tools. So now let's say I want to hear what it sounds like to have the EQ before the compressor. What do I have to do? Well, I have to undo at least half of this. Let's see how fast I can do this. And then we'll go into the EQ first, then the compressor. That's painful. And then finally back into Pro Tools. Now I can hear the difference, but I can't A/B quickly. And if I change my mind again and want to go back, I'm not going to put you through that, but you know what I would have to do. So obviously working with a traditional analog patch bay is slow. You know, you pick a chain and you commit to it because we're not about to start A/Bing and unplugging and plugging in again. We just kind of decide on something and go with it, effectively compromising any possibilities of a slightly different chain. So into the ProPatch, it has software, it's software controlled. You plug everything into it analog and then USB to your computer. And then you have this interface right here. So you can see here on all my chains are here in the studio and I have all my gear. Right here I have my stereo bus chain like we were working with before. And look how easy this is. I have 5 processors in between my summing mixer out and my interface input. And so let's say I have this tube compressor on my stereo bus. I decide I want to go solid state. I can jump over to the SSL. I could add the SSL Fusion. I can add the Pultex. Let's say, no, I don't want the Pultex. Let me try the oven. And let's say that sounds good, but let's see what the oven sounds like before the compressor. And then, you know what, let's go back to the tube compressor. That's as fast or maybe even a tinge faster than plugins. So it makes outboard gear feel like working with plugins, except you actually get to put your hands on it and turn the knobs. So all this gear in my room, I tend to use it more because it's so easy to integrate, patch in, change stuff, audition stuff. I can do a vocal recording or mix and have every compressor in the room that's good for a vocal compressor. I can put it in a chain, get them all set, and then I can just pop back and forth, listen, and really decide what the best piece of gear is. And we're not going to do that with a traditional patch bay. We're just not. On top of that, you have setups. So let's say you're mixing, you got all your chains going for mixing, and you got to instantly switch over to fix a vocal. So you set up a microphone and you don't want to unpatch all your mixing stuff because then you got to figure out where everything was and patch it back in, or you got to record a video to remember it, or you got to write it down. All you got to do with the ProPatch is save where the template was, save it, name it, and then you can pull it back up later and everything's back in the same spot while you switch over for a quick vocal recording. So now I want to show you in practice a major setup change, lightning fast. So right here we have my entire mix set up, all my inserts for Pro Tools with all the outboard gear, every compressor and EQ and every box in the room. So you can see here it says mixing setup. Let's say I'm mixing, but the artist says, hey, I want to record that line on the bridge real quick. Let me re-record that, or let me add something. I could switch over here, vocal recording setup. Every patch of my mix setup has now been unpatched, and every patch of my recording setup has now been patched in. I have my headphone sends ready to go, and I have 2 preamps and all the compressors in the room and a couple other pieces. And I can just choose at will. Let's say I don't want to use the Rupert Neve AMEC 9098. Let's say I want to go tube preamp with my Locomotive 286. It's literally a button click, just like using plugins, even faster. Like, it's just incredible. I could pop stuff in and out at will. I could change the order. And then when I'm done with that vocal recording, I go right back to my mix setup. A couple button clicks, and all of those patches for my mixing are back right where they left off and ready to be used. It's incredible. Like, this is life-changing. It literally makes using outboard gear as quick as plugins, except I get to reach over and turn the knobs, you know? And you can export setups, save them with each session if you need to, or just if you have a regular mixing template or recording template, you just save those, pop back and forth. You could have all your drums, 14 mics, every preamp and compressor, snare drum going to, 1073, 1176 into Pro Tools, and then the overheads going into a Neve whatever, and then, you have all that with one button click, switching back and forth into major setups. And they have a 200 point patch bay, 64 in, 60 out, and then they have a 32 by 32. So they have one for all size studios, and it's just life-changing, man. Like, I wish I had this my whole career, because it just makes using this gear a joy rather than a chore. And that's what I love about it. A couple other things to mention are the front panel connections. You have 4 XLR 1/4-inch combo jacks for inputs on the front. You have 4 1/4-inch TRS outputs on the front, and you have 16 TT inputs and 16 TT outputs in case you have leftover traditional analog patch bays that have gear that you also want to integrate into the ProPatch. And all of those connections on the ProPatch are as pure as can be. It's like there's no electronics in the signal path. They're using relays for all the switching. So it's literally like connecting 2 XLRs together. It's that clean, that pure. The signal is not degraded in any shape or form. Also, it handles phantom power, unlike the competitors. So hopefully this has shown you how effortless your analog world can be. Go to the website, check out all the other products. This is just one of many awesome products Wolff Audio makes, and we will catch you guys next time.